Janya, and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm back with a building tutorial. That's kind of something I've never done before, but over the course of the last 6 months or so, multiple times I've been asked to do various types of tutorials, particularly in regards to building. And so I decided I wanted to do something this week, but I wasn't sure what you guys wanted, so I posted on Twitter just to see if anyone had any suggestions, and the one that stood out to me was roofing. So that's what we're going to be going over in this video. By no means am I a professional Sims 4 roofer. This is just going to be me showing you what I do generally in order to roof a building in The Sims, and of course there's a bazillion different ways to do it. Everyone has their own ways, but I just want to go over how I do it, how I look at things, and how I think it makes it a little bit easier to go forward and try and roof a building if you're new to roofing in The Sims, because it can definitely be quite a task and it takes a while to get used to, and also just go over some of the different tools in the game. So anyway, I built this structure a couple minutes ago. I just built a random shape because you might just build a box. You're like, oh, I don't want it to be just a box, so here's some shape to it. There's nothing inside, it's a shell. Maybe I'll furnish it at some point, I don't know. But basically what I would go from here, like the first roof I would do is I would do something which I guess I think of as like the main section of the house, which it would be the biggest area you can put a roof, which I would say is this rectangle right here. And generally speaking, I would not put it in this direction, because most of the time when I see a house that has a long roof, it's not this direction, it's the other direction. So we're going to go ahead and grab a roof, and we're going to make sure it's going horizontally here, and we're going to go ahead and drag it across and make sure it's covering this the largest section of the house. So there we go. That is our first piece of roof. Of course, nothing is painted on the sides, but I will get to that as we keep going. Next thing I would do is I would cover up all of the extra bits that are coming off of this main section. That's just how I look at it. So I would go ahead and put this roof here, and you want to make sure that you tuck all of the pieces of roof here into the roof, because if you left it like that, there's this awkward bit right here that's just kind of sticking out. It looks kind of strange. So if you just drag that tool in, it will blend nicely and become one area. It'll become more like one roof. So now that we got the copy tool a long time ago in the game, but I've noticed some of old tutorials on roofing was before we got this tool. This is a very nifty tool. So if you want to make sure all of your roofs are the same height, so which you probably want to do. So we're going to go ahead and copy this roof right here, and we're going to place it up front here, and we're just going to make it the size of this shape. And because they're the same angle, they automatically are smooth and flush with each other right here, which is what you want. Whereas if you didn't do that, you might get something like this and it looks a little awkward. You don't really want to do that, so you're going to want to make sure things that line up like that. At least that's my preference. So that's what I do. And then when we get to the back over here, there's a couple different ways you can go about this. You can do the same type of thing you did in the front, where you have just a regular roof like this, or this is a gabled roof. I use them the most often out of any of the roofs in the game. It's the first one, because we have gabled, hipped, half gabled, half hipped, and then you have all the same things in diagonals, which diagonal roofing is like a whole nother mess. It's always a little awkward, but it's basically the same concept. But anyway, you can do the roof like that if that's what you're wanting. Another thing that I often do is, instead of that, especially because there's this deck right here, I would get a half gabled roof, and I'd put this right here, and I'd drag that across, and you just tuck it down into the roof, into the full gabled roof that you have, to kind of make it blend together like that. But you don't have to leave it like that. Also, when you're clicking this arrow, if you hold down Alt while you're doing it, you can free move it. But anyway, what I do sometimes is I'll drag it all the way across over a deck like this. So then we have a covered deck, and I'd add a column or two under here. This looks horrible, but you kind of get what I mean. So that it's a covered deck, and you can add some stairs to get down. It's totally up to your preference. I would suggest moving this forward this way so there's not this awkward gap over here. Because when it was over here, you have this extra bit of roof that's coming through the side, which is not desirable. It's not the end of the world. You can totally leave it like that, but you can tweak it to meet exactly where you want it by holding down that Alt key. See, it's a little too far up here. You can see this white line. So I'm going to go ahead and just grab this again, hold Alt, and keep tweaking it until it's about where I want it. The other thing that I think is really important with roofing in the game and helps just give your builds a better look, in my opinion, is going ahead and getting some roof trims. There's 3 different roof trims you can get. I think this is the one you start with. No, it's not. Okay, but anyway, this is basically what your roof's trims will look like if you just start the game, like you make a roof and you don't do anything to it. And everyone has, like, if you like them, you can keep them, but these add just a little bit more detail to them. You can go ahead and cover that up, and I think it makes the builds just look a little bit more finished. Like I said, there's 4 different ones. There's this one that's a very minimal one. There's this huge one, which is usually overkill, but you might find a reason for it. It goes a little too far up, in my opinion. There's this 3rd one, which is the one I typically use. Oh, I grabbed the 2nd one again. This one right here is the one I typically use, and I know a lot of builders do. But it just gives your house a little bit of extra detail. There's a lot of other colors you can grab it in. There's some browns. Here, I'll change the lighting to morning so you can see stuff a little bit better. And there's some like reds. You know, if you want some crazy colored things, you can also put them like across right here if you'd like to. I typically only put them on the actual roof though, but you can do whatever you want. I don't know when I placed that. There we go. But you can just figure out which thing works best for your build. Another thing that we got is freezes and exterior trims. Freezes, I think you need higher wall heights or multiple floors, I believe. Requires a taller wall height. Yep. Okay, so we're going to go to a higher wall height. And these freezes are these extra details you've probably seen on some fancy buildings before. And they could be really cool depending on the type of build you're doing. This is a little over the top for our little house right here. There's like these crazy ones like this. They're enormous. There's all kinds of cool ones you can do. We got some really nice ones with the vampire pack as well. Just lots of options for things you could go ahead and do in your builds if you'd so like to. And in here as well, we have exterior trims, which go really well when you have multiple floors of a room. Here, let's make this small again. Or multiple floors of a house. So we're just going to add a random room here. This isn't necessarily going to look the best right now, but I just want to show you what these trims are. It makes it so you can add a trim at the bottom of a room, so it's kind of separating the floors if you wanted that extra bit of detail. So those can be nice depending on what you're building. But I'm going to get rid of those for now, and I'm just going to add some steps and stuff back here. And these things can get way more complicated depending on what the structure you've built looks like, but that's kind of the basics of straightforward roofs. Of course, there are the diagonal roofs, which I said are very similar. They just can be a little bit finicky when it comes to getting them right. It is also important to really understand just the basic tools when you click on each roof. Obviously, we already went over selecting this tool to go up and down, and if you hold down Alt, being able to do that freely. Same thing goes for this as well, but you can't do that freely. It's by squares here or tiles. These on the corners allow you to go ahead and adjust the length of the roof on the sides, which is very nifty. And if you hold down Shift, you can adjust them one at a time. So you could have it so this side has a really short and that one has long. Although I think I would do it the other way around if I were to do it. Just kind of to make it so it doesn't have as much of a roof coming out over here. But you can adjust those. And then there's also these really cool features on the side. These little circles here allow you to adjust the shape of the roof. So if you want it more rounded to the outside, you can drag it that way, maybe for a more barn looking feel, or you can drag it inward as well, which can give you a really nice effect depending on what you're going for. I really like using that for like, I used it for, what's it called? I can't think. But depending on what you're building, like I used it for a cabin, that look, I think it can be really, really nice. It's just another feature that you can definitely check out and explore around with to make some more interesting builds, because this build looks completely different if it has like a completely rounded top like that. It's a very different house, and also now the roof is going to the floor. It's just, there's so much you can explore with the roofing tools we have in The Sims, so it's really, really fun. Another thing that is very helpful and customizable is we have all of these roof patterns, which you can select right here in the roofing menu, or I guess the building menu, but it's on the roof. You can go ahead and select here, because right here is where you select to pick your roofs, and here you can select your colors. There's all kinds of patterns and colors. I tend to go for darker colors. It's my own personal preference, but this one's pretty nice. I don't really use this one, but I think I'm going to more in the future. I tend to go for like these ones a lot. For some reason I just prefer darker roofs, but there's all kinds of stuff. Like we have this nice like tiki hut type one. I don't know why it's not working on these. Or maybe it is. It's just oh, it is. The color on this, it's the shading. But there's just so many different things for you to choose from. So definitely explore that a little bit. You can have blue shingles if you really want. There's just a whole lot to mess with. Of course, there is also roof sculptures or roof decorations. These are great if you want to have like a decorative chimney, for example. You can just go ahead and tuck that up in there. There's just all kinds of decorations. Like if you want this crazy gargoyle on your roof, go ahead and grab him. It doesn't really make sense with this build, but they're just things you can get. And then there's like from different packs, you get cool things. Like City Living has these billboards, which are kind of fun, and then there's some like flags for certain builds, like maybe a community lot, maybe you're building a school, it might make sense to have flags up there. Got some, what are these things called? Weather vanes that you can go ahead and put up on top of your barns and stuff like that. Like there's just all kinds of nifty stuff in here. Some of this is just more decorative that would look nice depending on like what kind of build you're doing. Just decorative pieces that are kind of nice. I personally really like these ones that came with Get Together. I used them in my vampire build I did recently, and they're just really nice. All these different things are helpful. Also, this is so nice. It's like a little dormer you can put just for more complexity in your build, and then just some more decorative things like an HVAC system and, you know, more chimneys and all that kind of stuff. But of course, none of that is necessary if you don't want to use it. It's just good to know that you have it at your disposal to add just a little bit more detail to your builds. So there you have it. Those are the very simple, bare basics of roofing in The Sims 4. If you'd like a more in-depth tutorial at some point in the future, please let me know. Just testing the tutorial waters here. Like I said, I'm not an expert, but I can do a more in-depth tutorial if anyone is seeking that, or if you want any other tutorials in The Sims related to really anything, building, gameplay, whatever you want, please let me know in the comment section down below. And also, if this was helpful to you at all, thank you guys so much for watching. Please like and subscribe and all of that good stuff, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye, everybody.